Hello everyone, this is A Sesay, and I just want to welcome you to my presentation. My presentation is going to be on Tesla Motors. This is a picture of me right here. I just want to apologize for not actually making a video of myself. My place is a little bit messy right now. I'm in the middle of moving, so there's a lot of boxes and stuff. So I just thought this would be a cleaner way to present this. As you guys know, that the class that we're in is the MBA 616, Capital Markets and Institutions, and this is going to be a financial analysis on Tesla Motors. Tesla Motors is a US-based electric car maker. They only make electric cars, no gas models. And Tesla is currently a publicly traded company. The company was originally founded in 2003 by Elon Musk and some other engineers. And in 2010, they went public in the NASDAQ, operating under TSLA. The company in 2016 had revenues of over 7 billion. That's up 3 billion from 2015, which is a huge growth in just 1 year. I think a big key to their growth is, the sustainability and their commitment to reduce emissions and CO2 pollution. I think this is a big key to their success because there's a lot of people who do want to do something about the amount of CO2 and pollution that we're emitting into the atmosphere. And I think Tesla is a great option for those people just because they have 100% electric cars and they have, really sleek looking cars as well. So I think, Tesla did what a lot of car companies couldn't do, was to have the economy with the style. And I think they did a good job at that. So in 2010, when Tesla went public, their initial public offering was at $17 per share, and 7 years later, they're at $355. One of Tesla's weaknesses, um, is just the lack of market share. I think their weaknesses ties into the threats. There's car giants like Ford and Toyota who have a full grip on the market, and Tesla just has a really hard time competing with those car companies. Just because those car companies have a bigger reach, they cater to more customers than Tesla does. And another threat that Tesla's having is the fact that some people just don't trust electric vehicles. Kind of worried that they might run out of charge or don't know where the closest charging station is. So it's still a technology that has yet to be proven in some people's eyes. So that might take some time for people. But I think in efforts to seize opportunities and move towards that accessibility for more customers, Tesla has offered a $35,000 car, which is up for pre-order right now. I don't think any have been manufactured or sent to customers yet, but that really, made them way more accessible to people instead of their, $70,000 car. Kind of just touching on some of the basics of the class. It talks about surplus and deficit units, which, as you can see, the definition here straight from the book. I just thought that was a really good definition. A surplus unit is those customers who receive more money than they spend, essentially, or investors as another name for them. And a deficit is the opposite. They spend more than they receive. Tesla Motors is going to be both inevitably. When raising capital, they're going to be a deficit unit, and when acquiring companies such as Solar City, they're going to be a surplus unit. Solar City, I will touch on a little bit later in the presentation. So corporate bonds are a good way to raise money. As you see here, corporate bonds usually come $1,000, and their maturity is typically between 30 and 10 and 30 years. Some companies like Disney um, and other large companies that are staples in America and the world really have offered 100-year bonds. So that's really, it's a different level. Typically, most companies are going to be 10 to 30 years. Um, Tesla can use this debt security to raise capital, and bonds do come in two different forms: secure and unsecure. Secure is where the company says, hey, we have this piece of property and we're going to use this as collateral to pay back our bonds in case we go bankrupt. Whereas unsecured is there isn't any specific collateral put up by the company, but at the same time, if they do go bankrupt, investors or people who hold the bonds are going to get their money back based on whether they're senior or junior. Obviously, as you can see here, senior does get the first priority on collecting those, making a claim on those assets. Um, Speaking of corporate bonds, Tesla does plan to issue $1.5 billion in 8-year bonds. And this is to help, this was to help produce their Model 3, which is that $35,000 vehicle I was discussing before, sorry. And the bond will carry a coupon rate of 5.75, which according to Moody's is a lot higher than what other companies are offering for their corporate bonds. This a good reason for this is because Tesla's bond is considered by many to be a junk bond. A junk bond is a bond that usually has higher yields, but it's a lot riskier. As you can see there, the 8-year that Tesla is offering is a lot less than the typical bond maturity that corporations offer. So it's a lot riskier, but the coupon rate kind of is there to mitigate that risk a little bit. The cost of financing with loans is realized in the form of interest rates. So interest rates is what you pay basically to borrow money. The issue with borrowing money is that you're going to have an interest rate payment, which you kind of have to balance whether that's a good idea or not, and you can use a net present value to calculate that using this formula that I have down here. These are some information I took from the 10K, Tesla's 10K, and I have a couple more tables. I just thought these two were very interesting, so I decided to use them. The debt to asset ratio and the return on equity ratio. As you can see, the debt to asset from 2014 to 2016 is getting lower and lower, which is a good thing. This means that um, about 73% of Tesla's assets is funded by debt, whereas back in 2014, 83% of it was, which makes them extremely highly leveraged. So they've become less leveraged, so less risky, but they're still a little bit on the high side. And then return on equity, you can see here that's kind of fluctuating, which will not really instill confidence in investors who rely on that financial analysis. But at the same time, Tesla has been growing. As you can see here, their revenues increased by 14 billion in that same time period, 15 to 16, whereas their liabilities only increased by 10 billion. So they're definitely doing something right. They do have a higher ratio, so they have more financial risk, but I think investors will look at that as well as look at other things when investing in things that Tesla decides to offer. As you see here, this is the balance sheet from the 10K. A lot of the information calculations I used were directly from this balance sheet, so it's kind of just a quick preview of that just to see where I got that information from and the breakdown. As you can see here, solar energy systems is something that they really boosted in the year 2016. Some suggestion is for Tesla to, change their capital structure a little bit, make themselves a little bit less leveraged. I know large US firms, it's very normal for them to be highly leveraged. But I think, making themselves less leveraged will reduce their risk and instill confidence in investors. And then corporate bonds is something that I definitely think that they should, focus a lot more on, just because, they're a good way to raise immediate funds. Here is a suggestion of reducing the amount of liabilities they have. So just kind of changing their capital structure a little bit. A is their current capital structure with the numbers here. Um, you know, this is a very high percentage of debt to equity. So I think, reducing it to 71% liabilities, or even 65 if they want to be a little bit more aggressive, will reduce their numbers. And you can see here from the graph the kind of effects that will have on their debt to asset and debt to equity ratio, making them less leveraged. Worthwhile investment. So Tesla, like I mentioned earlier, Tesla invested in Solar City, which is a company that focuses on providing solar energy to power various things in everyday life. And I think Tesla should continue to do make investments in companies like this. ABB Ltd is another company that kind of works with solar energy as well as wind energy. They work on robotics, which of course Tesla can use in manufacturing, and they make electric vehicle quick charge systems. With Tesla having a electric battery, having a system that can charge quickly will just improve Tesla's product, and maybe more people might adopt with the fact that they can get their vehicles charged quickly. Um, this was a very brief overview of what I did. Paper had a lot more detail. Definitely looking forward to seeing your videos, and gonna appreciate you guys and just thank you guys for the class that we've had together. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one.